the algorithm is bullshit, because then you're going to look like everyone else.
Yeah.
Right? This is my theory. I would say if you like it, if you love it, do it.
Welcome, everyone, to F5 Collective presents Women in Business. Today, we are featuring another one of our incredible Australian founders, Alex Antoniou. She is the founder of Sept. It is a purse company that creates these unbelievably gorgeous purses. They all have personality. Each one has a story behind it. And I'm really excited to be sharing what she's all about. Hi, Alex.
Hi. Alex from Sept. Oh, I love it. We will get into the storytelling because your bags do have personality and they have so much behind them that I really think that our group will learn so much from. I want to start with your background and growing up, or where did you come? Were you an artist, or what led to this wanting to start a company and give into your art? Because your stuff is incredibly artistic.
Yeah, lots of layers there. So, both my sisters, so I'm one of three, and both my elder sister's a film director, and my other sister was in editing, and I fell into creative directing and advertising. And I don't know how that happened. We used to watch a lot of movies as kids. My parents would be movie buffs. And also my husband is very creative as well. He was a pattern maker. He's in the fashion game. Wow. So he sells vintage clothing. So all that creativity, and I think over the years building other people's brands, I was thinking about, you get older, you get more experience, you maybe want to branch out on your own. So I was looking for something, a great product, or what is going to be the business so I can delve into some really fun advertising. On this, the buying trip, and we would discover all these different suppliers and buying cowboy boots and piles of denim and all the treasures that you find on these trips. Yeah. And I found a particular type of bead, which I found out was sort of recycled material that was made into this bag. And I bought the bag because I loved it and I didn't think much of it. And I brought it back to Sydney and I took it out, and everyone really wanted to know what the hell this bag is. And I was like, this is it. I think this is it. I found something.
Whoa. So so then was it because of that bag that you chose to continue with bags, or?
The bag wasn't anything great,
right?
Like in terms of like a shape or any design, but I think it was more the material.
Right.
So when I decided to go back and suss things out and ask where the bag came from and all of that, I found these women that deal with these recycled materials. And so there's a great sustainability story there. And it started from there to kind of work out, okay, if I'm going to make something out of it, I'm going to make some bags,
Yeah.
Got to go away and design some stuff.
So is this, you mentioned this, and this is pretty cool. Is sustainability and all of that very important to you, and making sure that you reflect that in your...
I think, these days, especially, younger generation, they're, into that, and they're they are looking for sustainability, especially in fashion, especially with, fast fashion and all of that. And I think that's really important to a lot of people now. So, and I'll be honest in saying that kind of fell into the whole, I didn't seek it out. So it's just like a nice little tick as well.
Right. How have you pulled on, and it feels like this also is a good tick with marketing. So how did you pull on your marketing and your branding experience and all of that, and find that it was really helpful when you were putting the Sept brand together?
So obviously it's, I believe, not only in sort of the knowledge that you get from working in a creative field, I think it's who you know as much as it is what you know. So when I was like, okay, I'm going to, name it and brand it and do a treatment for it, for the content and all this stuff. I obviously had the experience because I've been doing that for other brands. But then it's like, okay, you're starting a brand, you don't really have much money, you're on a limited budget. So I really pulled in some favors, but it all started from like a late night conversation. It was a friend's birthday. Her husband was a director and I've been friends with her for a long time. She's a producer. And which I was just talking to a lot of other producer friends that were there saying, maybe I should, do you know any photographers that I could just shoot a couple of stills? And then it kind of snowballed into, oh, we're not going to do some stills. We're going to write 3 film scripts and I've got a director friend and she's really cool and you should meet her. And just like a random conversation about just doing a couple of stills turned into this full production. But the more people that we roped in that said, hey, we're just starting out, I know your friend who's a stylist, and everyone piled in. And it was like actually a really big learning curve, because it's funny, a lot of the sentiment was they haven't been working on anything really great creatively in their day-to-day job. So people were pumped, people were really happy to help out, and, the atmosphere was really loose, but everyone just loved the experience of just helping out on a brand and also having the freedom to do whatever we wanted without the parameters of the client. I mean, I'm the client,
right.
But refreshing to go, hey, where's the bag? Is the bag in the first shot? And, where's the logo? Is the logo big? And like, I didn't care about that, which is really, when you see the bag, but it was more about the storytelling and the feeling.
Okay.
And I think we've been sort of beaten down sometimes in more traditional advertising about the product. And, I've worked on, Pepsi, you need to have the can in the first 3 seconds, and then and we threw all of that out. So it was very organic and it was really refreshing to just focus on the storytelling.
Okay, so yes, you bring that up, and it's interesting because you talked about the fact that they said, let's look at it as a movie script, and is that what led to the personalities and the storytelling?
So when I found out that, okay, so I've got the product, what is the secret sauce? What is going to make this stand out you just have to go online. I mean, we're saturated. It's just a frenzy of product.
Yeah.
So what's my point of difference? And so I did a lot of sort of research on, fashion brands in general. I think in America, the more high-end fashion brands, they have money to do the storytelling and all that. But, in Australia, you don't, it's hard because they don't have budgets and stuff like that. But usually you'd have, if it was a bag, you'd just have a model on a rock,
right,
looking beautiful. But it doesn't go any further than that. So that was one reason to really focus on storytelling. But in my research, I came across this jewelry brand in America. They did a lot of really cool content. And there was this video with the founder, and he was talking about this particular product. And if he had to go back in time and rename it, he'd name it. He was talking about how Joan Collins is sort of who he thinks about when he thinks about this particular product. And he would go back and call it the bitch bag, And I was like, what? He was like, and then I was like, oh, he's talking about naming a bag after, well, not a person, but the persona of a person.
Persona.
And I was like, that's interesting, right? Because it was this graphic, it was like the bitch bag. And I was like, it's so that I kind of like, okay, there's something in that. It's like the persona of a bag, not, if you talk about like celebrity, products being, tied to celebrity endorsements, and it's like a lot of the time it's about who is carrying the bag.
Right.
Okay, how do you spin that in terms of like, okay, well, maybe the bag holds the personality and then you can go from there. So that's kind of the genesis of the marketing and the storytelling.
Wow.
And then the film, naming the bags after fictional female characters. So I think that comes from, you know, my sister used to work in a video shop in the early 2000s. And so she would bring films home, and it was of that sort of 90s era of film, were really great female characters. And I like the idea of naming the bags after, yes, female characters, but also the characters they're not quite right. They're not polished, you know, beautiful, wonderful women. You know, I mean, some are glamorous, but they're kind of like, I like the idea of like grifters and gamblers, and that opens up more storytelling and also, you know, gets you away from the prim and beautiful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, these chicks are gritty.
Yeah.
And I think that's fun.
Well, what's great, your bags are the personalities suit the bags, and the bags suit the personalities very well.
Yeah, yeah.
And they are definitely not quiet.
No.
They are definitely statement making in the best possible way.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, the value of, can you speak a little bit to the value of the storytelling, just even in general, beyond all of that?
Well, you know, purchasing a product, I think these days need to be about experience and emotion.
Yeah.
And if you tell a story about what might happen when you take this bag out, it's a little bit more, you know, romantic and exciting, you know. So, and the thing about a bag also, it's, you know, it sees all, you know, it gets thrown into, you know, taxis at 4 a.m., gets thrown on dance floors, it comes with you to the bathroom, it holds all your secrets. It's like, it's quite a rich territory, and I think it's fun to help people, you know, have some fun in imagining what could happen when they take their bag out. So that's really kind of fun.
Yeah, I really like that. And you're right. And it even supports, like what we were saying, the kind of bags that you have. And it really makes it very clear what these are about and who you can become even with them, right?
Yeah.
And in regards even to the storytelling, you have a really fabulous, very vibrant personality. And so it's glorious. And as you were out there really putting the Sept together and making sure people knew it was coming out, what did you find was the value of making sure that personality of yours and you telling your story, how important was that within kind of getting people interested in your brand?
Well, it's funny you ask that, because I haven't really revealed myself, I suppose, because the brand is very young. I mean, we launched in, May.
Wow.
So it's only been 6 months.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Though.
So I think I'm waiting for the right time, and I have some ideas on how to do that. So, and I think yes, I agree with you. I think people will get more out of the brand when, you know, I come to the forefront or whatever, but I'm wanting to choose the right, you know, is it some type of other activation, or is it a pop-up? Is it where do I come into it? But, you know, not quite yet.
Okay.
Because I like the mystery as well.
Yeah. Very enigmatic. Well, because then the bags speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Because they do have such bright and bold personalities. And, and you don't want to take away from that.
So, you know, when the moment is right.
Are you only online right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I have been thinking about approaching sort of more boutiques and things like that, but I like the exclusivity of it. You're only getting it in one place.
Right.
But, hopefully next year, you know, I have some ideas on some pop-up, really interesting, never really done before pop-up ideas, which play into the environment that you might find these women.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I'm getting that you want to keep that close to the vest, so I won't poke you too much on that. So,
okay.
But I guarantee we're going to come back to you in a while. And will you let us do that? And come back? Okay, because I'm coming back.
Okay, good.
Okay, good. So then with that in mind, what do you see next for Lisette? What do you want to go beyond bags? What do you see next for this?
So obviously, I think next year we might look at new materials. Because currently the bag range has 3 different types of materials. More the sort of the silver, then we've got the more color, clear color, and then we have a limited edition one for summer, spring. But it would be interesting to see where we could take the bag designs, which maybe go into leather or those sort of things. So that might happen. But I think, for me, the challenge is really getting it out there much more and getting eyeballs. And it's funny because, the content that we have currently that we shot, when we launched, you might think that it's getting a bit old and stale, but really, you might have had some eyeballs on it, but there's so many more people out there. So I think that's like I was talking to a friend about that, and you're like, it's an actual good piece of advice. It's like, you might get sick of your own content, but really you got to think about who's actually seen it. Yeah. So I think, the media side of getting the brand out is going to be sort of, that's what I'm focusing my attention on. How do we push it out? Right. And get, lots of, because you can have a really great product and really great advertising, but if no one's seeing it, then it doesn't matter. So that is a, big challenge that we're wanting to move through on.
Yeah. It's like having the greatest novel, but it's in your footlocker. It doesn't matter. If no one's reading it, then it's not the greatest novel, is
exactly.
It? Right. Yeah. Right. So with that, has that been the biggest challenge, or has there been some challenge that's come to you and you've been like, okay, I have to get over this hurdle and this is how I did it?
I think is one of the biggest challenges currently. I'd say one of the other sort of, just starting the business, because everything has kind of been solo in many ways, and, I'm pulling the strings here. Working with suppliers, that's like, I think everyone says that, prototyping and sampling bags, and that can get, kind of frustrating when, things don't come back the way that they should. But at the same time, there was a mistake made on a bag that we ended up going with because we're like, oh, it's a happy mistake. Like, this is really great.
Oh, that's cool.
So, stay positive, I suppose, on that stuff. But yeah, it can be challenging. And obviously getting your costs and costs, we're in the Australian dollar, which,
yes,
all of that stuff. But yeah, and looking after those partnerships as well with your suppliers and things like that. And I have a really great relationship. So just try to keep that going and maybe look at other suppliers as well. Like I would say, don't keep your eggs in one basket. I think that's a good thing as well.
Yeah.
Because you don't know.
Do you still deal with Bangkok suppliers and predominantly?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just easy because my husband's there all the time as well. So, but yeah, they've been great.
Have you been selling globally, or is it just Australia? Or?
I'm just focusing on Australia.
Okay.
Yeah. So, although I've had some really nice emails from, I think I saw one from in Hong Kong, or there's been a couple of places that have, found me. I think it was in the Gourmet Traveller or something, and it was at an airport. Maybe that's
airports are helpful.
They're helpful. Yeah, so they found me. But yeah, we'll see how we go here, and then we'll take over the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're 6 months in. Who knows where you'll be 6 months more?
Yeah,
that's great. What advice would you like to give to other young founders that are out there, and even with those who are, because you are coming from an incredible art and passion based area, and telling that story, but what kind of advice would you want to be able to give?
I think it's easy to, how do you go the opposite way of the algorithm is my thing, right? Because I think, especially if you maybe don't understand brand and that you get online, you know, they, you know, I hate those Instagram template things where they're like, follow this and this is what gets more views if you do it this way. It's like the algorithm is bullshit because then you're going to look like everyone else.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. This is my theory because I want to be true to the brand and the creativity.
Yeah.
But I would say if you like it, if you love it, do it. Like you should be the number one customer. Like what looks good to you? What do you get excited about?
Yeah.
It's hard because, you obviously you need to look at your audience, but that's my kind of advice on that. Be true to your own, what you like.
Yeah.
And try and stick to that. Because then, it all starts to look the same. And I mean, that's just boring to me.
Yeah.
And if innovators don't do what everyone else does. So I think it was like, saw this video because Oasis have been in town, but Noel Gallagher, I love him. He always comes out with these little bits of genius, and he was talking about the music industry and he was like, customers don't know what they want. You need to, do you think they asked for Jimi Hendrix? Do you think they asked for Sgt. Pepper's? They didn't ask for it, so you need to tell them, you need to just bring it.
Right.
And I think you can do that with fashion, yeah.
Seems like you got to trust yourself and believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
I think it's really important.
Yeah.
I just think because we're going into a clone society.
Yeah.
Like it never used to be like that. Everyone dresses a certain way. Everyone's like, because they're all just looking at, back in the 90s, I think it was a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flavorful and, just a lot more individualistic types of things happening.
Yeah.
You had your tribes.
Yeah.
You had your tribes. But I think there's a lot of less of that, and we need to just push back on that and just like find your own thing. That would be my advice. I don't know if that helps. But.
Yeah, it does. Well, when you are at those times where you're kind of like, okay, this is all great. I think do you have a good community that you've developed and
in terms of
as far as bouncing ideas off of to be able to,
yeah. So, a lot of, because I work with a lot of writers, so, it's always, a lot of them, help me out with finding the name and, the lists and the justification and all of that. So, yeah, that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got my creative people,
Yeah.
So if you've got that, great. But even whoever, talk to some random on the street. I don't know.
Well, you never know what you're going to get back.
You never know who you're going to bump into.
Yeah. Well, they say a lot of times that those people that you don't know, they're just going to give you.
They're probably going to be more honest.
Yeah, they're going to be more honest anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah. There you go.
Give it a shot.
Is there any last word that you like to share? Any last advice or any last thing you want to share about what's coming or what you want people to know? Or no, that's fine.
I think I've talked too much.
You didn't talk too much.
I've said it all. No, just like find your passions and they pop up. Hear it, just look around.
Yeah,
because they'll be dropped in your lap, or you just have to recognize it.
Yeah,
really keep your eyes open.
Yeah, I like that. So we definitely, because these are really fantastic bags, but not only that, your story and how your storytelling and the experience of what you get when you see Sept and you go on the website and you get involved. You actually get really immersed in the personalities and wanting to understand more. So we definitely want to come back to you in a while and check out how you're doing and see what's up and what's on the horizon. Because you've got this incredible energy, and it really does bring this refreshing view of what is possible. And the whole idea of, giving into that passion, really going for it and not just bucking kind of convention and following what matters. More and more people, and I think more and more founders need to hear that, and trusting in what they're putting their mind towards and their heart towards.
Yeah.
That's incredibly valuable. So definitely want to follow up with you.
Okay.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for hanging. Really appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And your shoes. Show your shoes.
Cut that.
Thank you for joining us today and for learning more about Alex Antoniou and Sept. Please check out her website. The link is in the description below. The purses are gorgeous and you are going to love them. See you next time.